This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Ahoy hoy, it's Lydia here from the Simpsons Theory. I recently asked in a poll what Mr. Burns video you'd like to see next, his best or his worst deeds, and the majority of you naughty people voted for the worst with 69%.
Hey, what's so funny? Oh, Marge, grow up.
Many of you in the comments wrote that it would be pretty much impossible to list anything good, and that this old Grinch is rotten to the core. But you'll be surprised to learn that hiding under that cold, gangly exterior is actually a heart. A small shriveled up one, but a heart all the same. And although he's quite capable of doing terrible, terrible things, he has on the rare occasion showed a tender side too. So in this video today, we'll go through some of the kindest moments of Monty Burns, from saving common folk from burning buildings to even taking on a masked superhero alter ego. This is the kindest deeds of Mr. Burns.
I don't get it, Simpson. I'm a bad boy.
Oh, I know.
Very quickly, if you enjoy my timeline videos, then I've just released the complete timeline of Philip J. Fry on my other channel called Screen Portal. Please go and check it out after this video. The link is in the description below. He gifted The Simpsons with a huge present. Mr. Burns has had a long and complicated history with the Simpsons family. At one point, Homer was his PA and he almost killed him. Marge painted him in the buff, he had a newspaper free speech war with Lisa, Maggie shot him, and he not only ran over Bob but even adopted him as his heir at one point. Bart also gave Mr. Burns life by giving him some blood. Now, if that's not a rollercoaster relationship, I don't know what is. To add a bit of context behind this story, Mr. Burns falls gravely ill and needs a blood transfusion, and the only person in Springfield who shares his rare blood type is Bart Simpson. The family believe that they will get a huge reward for saving the life of the wealthiest man in town, and so Bart donates his blood to Mr. Burns. But instead of showering the Simpsons with gems and jewels, he instead sends a measly thank you card. Absolutely furious, Homer writes a letter to his type boss, which Bart posts. Upon reading the letter, Mr. Burns is livid, but Smithers reminds him that the Simpsons actually saved his life, and so eventually Mr. Burns has a change of heart. And instead of vowing revenge like we're used to, he goes out shopping to buy them a present.
Eureka! We found it!
Mr. Burns turns up to Evergreen Terrace with a huge crate. Expecting the loot to be filled with diamonds and jewels, Mr. Burns instead unveils a giant colossal Olmec head. Although it may not be the most practical present, Mr. Burns did choose it himself and genuinely thought the Simpsons would love it. Oh, and just look at his happy little face here. He looks positively giddy.
A fabulous, grabulous, zip-zoop-zabulous present!
One of the longest running Mr. Burns gags is that he always forgets Homer's name.
Who the devil are you?
But you can make sure that no one forgets your name by building your own online presence with Squarespace. With Squarespace's all-in-one platform, it's even easier than ever to build your own website. I created mine within a day and I had so much fun doing it. Granted, it's no Mr. X, but I'm pretty happy with it. I can post all of my videos on there and adapt my scripts into online articles. If you want to check it out, the link is in the description below. There's so many ways you could customize it as well, just to your taste. There's so many templates for you to play with. Honestly, I really recommend it. Head over to Squarespace for a free trial today and see if it's a good fit for you. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Simpsons Theory to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. The link is in the description below. Mr. Burns saved the school. Although Mr. Burns isn't the most generous person in town, as previously discussed, hoarding his gold like Smaug, he has on the rare occasion dug deep into his pockets and showed himself to be a part-time philanthropist. In the episode The Grift of the Magi, the mafia tricks Springfield Elementary into a massive debt, so they are forced to close the school. To raise some funds to reopen, Principal Skinner and the kids attempt to apply to Mr. Burns' generosity, and it went as well as you'd expect.
Charity, eh? Yes, I'd be more than happy to.
When their plan fails, the school is sold to a toy company who uses the classroom of kids for marketing purposes, and so uses the research to create Funzo, a murderous Furby-like toy. And so Homer, Bart, and Lisa have to round up all the Funzos and destroy them. At the end of the episode, Mr. Burns has a change of heart after being visited by 3 ghosts, and therefore gifts a basket of money to save the school. Thus showing us, like the whole big head situation, that Mr. Burns often chooses the right path in the end to help his fellow Springfieldians. But I'm sure that this gift was much more appreciated. Mr. Burns saves Lisa's life. Like Bart, Lisa Simpson has had a pretty rocky history with Mr. Strub. Mr. Burns. In the episode The Old Man and the Lisa, the tycoon loses all of his wealth, then turns to Lisa for some help. The only no-nonsense person in the town who will tell him what's what and what's not. She teaches him that he can actually earn money while saving the planet by recycling. Inspired by sustainability, he builds the Little Lisa recycling plant, and so Lisa believes that he is really reformed, until she sees the horrors lurking inside. He reveals that he's using 6-pack holders to sweep the sea clean and grinding the ocean's creatures into a slurry paste for dog food and dynamite. The funny thing here is that Mr. Burns is shocked by Lisa's disgusted reaction, as he believed he was doing good.
You're still evil, and when you're trying to be good, you're even more evil.
Although they don't see eye to eye on a few things, I believe that Mr. Burns does care about the little girl. This is proved in the season 17 episode, The Seemingly Never-Ending Story. In it, Lisa is chased by a furious bighorn sheep. She seeks shelter in Mr. Burns' mansion, but the vengeful creature bursts inside. The two of them hide in the attic, but it soon finds them. But Mr. Burns does the unthinkable. He stands defiantly in front of Lisa and uses his frail body to shield her. And he is headbutted against the wall. This sacrifice hugely impresses Lisa, and she is very thankful for his courage.
I want a photo of the hero who risked his life to save me.
Although pretty hilarious, let's not forget that Mr. Burns is ancient, and a headbutt from a ram could have easily killed him, but he put the needs of a child before his own, and that's what a hero does. Mr. Burns saved his fiancée from a burning building. In Hunga Hunka Burns in Love, Monty falls for a younger woman named Gloria. They go on several dates before he pops the big question.
Of course I'll marry you.
Oh, spectacular!
Unfortunately, it's not happily ever after with rainbows and kittens, as we find out Gloria used to date the bad boy Snake Jailbird. He kidnaps her and Homer and ties them up in his hideout, but while they try to escape, Homer accidentally sets fire to himself and the house. Homer and Snake make a run for it, leaving Gloria trapped inside the blazing inferno. And who is it that saves the day? It's Monty Burns, of course.
Step aside, I'll save Gloria myself.
He barges through the timbers and charges into the fiery flames. And even though Gloria is the one who ends up carrying him out, he at least cuts her restraints before passing out. This is another time he's put others' well-being before his own, and you may say, well duh, she was his fiancée, but it's Mr. Burns, and there's quite a low bar for judging his kindness. His relationship with Smithers. Monty's devoted companion is his sidekick Waylon Smithers, who literally does everything for him because, big shock, he's madly in love with him. So much so that his entire identity seems to be, well, Mr. Burns' right-hand man. And although this devotion isn't reciprocated a lot, I feel that Monty does care for him. When Smithers Sr. died after saving the town from a nuclear meltdown, it's Mr. Burns who adopts the boy like a father and brings him up.
Sir.
Which does make their relationship even weirder. But still, let's concentrate on the innocent stuff. The two have had a lot of fun together, whether frolicking around in the power plant or having money fights. When Smithers does the unthinkable and quits in the season 27 episode, The Burns Cage, Burns realizes that he's completely lost without him. So he's prepared to give him $1 million and a lifetime Broadway pass in order to get him back. And he even gives him a glowing performance review.
It's excellent.
And the two share a super sweet hug afterwards. I feel that Smithers not only acts as the guy to make Mr. Burns look even more evil by reacting to his plans, but he's also the one guy who sticks by him through thick and thin, for better for poorer, in sickness and in health. Oh, just get married already, you freaking cuties. That time he became a superhero. When you think of Mr. Burns, you may think murderer, sociopath, mental, even alien. A hero may not even cross your radar, so it may surprise you to learn that this billionaire tycoon once became a masked hero. In the season 24 episode Dark Knight Court, we learn that Monty grew up reading comic books as a child. This was until his father burnt down the publishing company to teach him a lesson. Revisiting his youth, Mr. Burns became obsessed with crime-fighting adventures of Bat-like Man. Inspired, Mr. Burns announces that he will become a crime-fighting vigilante.
I shall be Fruit Batman.
Donning a cape and a cowl, he takes to the streets as a watchful protector. When Fruit Batman witnesses a crime in action, he pounces in to act. But before he can swoop into the scene, Smithers promises Snake and Apu $1,000 each if they play along. Unaware, Fruit Batman believes he takes out Snake and goes out looking for more crimes to stop. Everyone in the town humours the poor old man, playing along with his heroic antics for large sums of money. And although no one takes him seriously, it's actually Lisa who asks the Fruit Batman for help. Although initially he turns her away, his heroic side prevails and he swoops in to save the day. He takes out groundskeeper Willie and forces him to admit that the Scot pulled the prank, thus saving Bart from a crime he didn't commit. You know, after researching into this video, I've established that Mr. Burns perhaps isn't the most evil character in history. Not 100% evil, but maybe 95%. And finally, I'd like to say thank you to my newest Flying Hellfish members, Omar Lopez and Cruise Life Eric. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It really does mean a huge amount to me. And of course, a big thank you to my other lovely Flying Hellfish members. Are you ready? We have Timothy, who else but Zane, Liam, Charlie, Sean, Andre, Stefan, Vincent, Robert, Ashley, Kevin, Glenford, Devin, Gadrak, Stephen, Edward, Anthony, Nicola, Nerdcentric, Jeffrey, Dominic, Cody, Aaron, Jakku Star, GameBoss49, Chaz, Jeff, Gil, Shadu, Murray, Paul, Oliver, Henry, Frank, Lucas, Emily, Omar, and Cruise Life Eric.